much-anticipated trial for the murder of former Bafana Bafana and Orlando Pirates goalkeeper Senzo Meyiwa will begin in the High Court in Pretoria today. 5 men face charges of murder, attempted murder, armed robbery and the possession of unlicensed firearms. The late football star was shot and killed back in 2014 at the home of his then-girlfriend Kelly Khumalo, rather her mother's home in Vosloorus. Our reporter Tshegohaco Moagi is tracking that story and joins us now in the studio. And of course, Tshegohaco, good morning. It's all the more at the top of our minds because of that Netflix docuseries, which gives us all of the history of the case and what has brought us to today.
Absolutely, Michelle. And I mean, that docuseries really just revealing some of the other things that we may not have known as the public when it comes to the killing of Senzo Meyiwa. Now, he died, of course, in 2014, October of 2014, at, as you've mentioned, his then-girlfriend's mother's home. Yeah. They were apparently having Sunday lunch, and intruders apparently then came in and shot him. But there's also a lot of inconsistencies, you know, when you watch that particular docuseries that you hear from some of the witnesses that were in the house. Of course, the brother in the series itself, even when we spoke to him last year when the date for this trial was set, he himself saying that he does not believe that the 5 men accused of this murder of Senzo Meyiwa are the men that actually committed the crime. He strongly believes that somebody within the house at that time of October 2014, 26th of October 2014, that someone in that house must have committed that crime. And what we then heard in that docuseries was around the issue of, you know, Longwe, specifically Longwe Twala, saying that he ran out when the intruders came in. He ran out, didn't have his cell phone with him because they were demanding the cell phones. But then we also then heard him in another interview where he says that he had his cell phone in his back pocket. So there's also that bit of inconsistency that took place there. But around the issue of, you know, the legalities of it all, we've seen this going back and forth. You know, we've heard, I mean, these men were arrested in 2020 only. And we've heard how they themselves have said that they are not part of this murder, that they've had nothing to do with this murder. We are expecting, of course, some of them to plead not guilty today, about 4 of them to plead not guilty today. But the big thing around it is then what happens going forward. If these men are pleading not guilty, will the trial actually also still stand? The defense, of course, has said that they are ready for this trial to start today. But the big issue is really who actually killed Senzo Meyiwa.
And why?
And why?
Yeah.
And we've often heard from the police minister that, you know, the murder has happened, but who's the mastermind behind who actually ordered the actual hit on Senzo?
So that's the question this morning, isn't it? Still, I think in the minds of South Africans and people following the story is, was this just a robbery that went horribly wrong? Or because now we have 5 hitmen, so-called hitmen, who are facing murder charges in connection with his death? Or was it murder for hire? And if so, as you say, who would have wanted to have him killed?
Absolutely. And the interesting thing as well is that these people that are facing trial, most of them are facing, they've also been charged with other murder cases. Some of them were in jail at the time of Senzo Meyiwa's death. So that's also a loophole within this particular case, because why is it happening that these people get arrested in 2020 when some of them are facing trial for murder? I mean, there's the one guy who's facing 6 counts of murder in KwaZulu-Natal, and one has also just recently been sentenced for attempted murder, 12 years for attempted murder. But they have specifically said, most of them have said that they are innocent, that they did not murder Senzo Meyiwa, and most of them saying that they weren't even in the province at the time. But of course, Bheki Cele has said that the police minister has said that they've been able to link certain things to these men. Some of them have apparently ousted each other, so they point fingers at each other that I was with this human being. But as you mentioned, I mean, the big thing is really who ordered this, if there was someone that actually ordered it, or was it really a robbery that has gone wrong? Senzo Meyiwa's family is now somewhat split, because you'd remember that AfriForum was brought in by Sifiso Meyiwa, who then wanted them to help them to get to the bottom of this case as to what happened to their brother. But then now we are seeing that Sifiso Meyiwa has said that he does not necessarily support what AfriForum has said, because AfriForum is now agreeing that these men are the ones that actually killed Senzo Meyiwa, and he does not believe that at all. Whereas his siblings and his cousins are now standing with AfriForum and really hoping that they'll get some kind of answers from that prosecution.
I mean, that's the question today as well. Is this trial getting underway today going to signal a process where the family does get closure? Because for so many years, they've themselves struggled with not knowing what happened to Senzo Meyiwa, his family. Do we have any insight, Tshegohaco, this morning as we build up to the start of the trial about the state's case here?
Not much. I mean, we do remember that last year they did say that they were ready for the trial, that they are positive that these men are the ones that actually killed Senzo Meyiwa. And it would be interesting to find out today, Michelle, as to what are they linking these men to on that particular fateful night of 26 October 2014 when Senzo was killed. So it would be interesting to see the state's case in this as to how are they linking these 5 men to the actual murder, and how are you linking people that are consistent in their testimony and in how they are speaking to the magistrates that they are not guilty of this murder. And also, how are you linking people that have already been convicted, some of them already been convicted on other charges, and yet you are saying that these are the people that were in the vicinity of this particular situation. So it'll be interesting to see the state's case in this matter. And you know, the closure for the family, Michelle, this murder happened in 2014. It's 2022. We are sitting on about 8 years. I mean, in October of this year, it will be 8 years since Senzo Meyiwa was killed. And there's been no closure. There's been no closure. There's been no eye-opener as to this is possibly what could have happened. And I think this is why Senzo Meyiwa is so adamant that the family needs to know what has happened, but also the people that were in the house at that time need to be open about what exactly took place on that evening.
Absolutely. Tshegohaco, Moagi, thanks very much for coming into studio and giving us a sense of what we can expect as that case kicks off. Certainly been a case that has baffled not only the family of Senzo Meyiwa, but South Africans on the whole for the past now almost 8 years. That case gets underway in the High Court in Pretoria today.